Welcome back. We're here to cover the Divine Masculine update. If you do need a booking or anything of the likes, all the links are directly below. We're getting straight into the read. Now, this portal, especially with the eclipse, we are moving into this brand new chapter. Now, I do feel this can feel like a little bit of a spiritual test. And really naming this video was pretty unique, looking at the crowning energy, and this too with temptation and beyond the veil of temptation and a bit of a karmic test. But this is also the power of this individual actually alchemizing the energy and ascending higher. So I do see this as a critical turning point that is happening in this individual's life. And there can be a lot of shadow energy. There can be a lot of dream states that they're moving through, revelations they're having about what is for their path and what's not. Now, they have already been doing a lot of inner work and outer work relating to this point in the path. And we do see, especially both from their crowning energy and the top row of their movement forward and what's based in the foundation as a point in their life where they're realizing where their passion is, how people directly potentially have manipulated them, and how potentially part of their belief system about their worthiness and how they would manifest and receive love was actually there, so to speak. And this can trickle down into different levels of our life, down to our finances, down to our belief systems of self-worth and how we interlink with our friendship groups, our connections, etc., etc. Now, this for them can be huge revelations. It's like, okay, I am powerful, I can attract, I am a manifester, but also how have people been playing me and how have I inadvertently played into that storyline? We do see them viewing maybe past tense partners and connections in this context and how they do have a deep passion for divine feminine and they are actually attracted to that and what it's actually showing them about themselves. Now, the most recent past, it was almost like they knew where they needed to be, but this has been a long road for them. And this, in the upright, I see these two individuals actually painting a picture and discovering their own purpose within their own individual identity. And I feel that the revelation that they're having is it wasn't so much that for them the divine feminine was the incorrect person. It was that they had to grow into the shoes that they felt were in resonance with who they were at that point in time. So yes, at times they did choose things that potentially weren't for them. They did choose things that maybe were not as healthy, etc. But where they stand right now, they're having the revelation of how in that self-discovery they've actually found themselves, but it wasn't necessarily with the correct people or with the correct partnerships. Now, in their heart of hearts, they know who the connection is and what the connection is for them, and how maybe people in the past have actually manipulated them to get what they want out of circumstances. And this does cut deep. It cuts deep because once we realize what our part is and what another person's part is, I think this is relating to what their spiritual core belief is now. And I don't think this is where they're getting trapped. I think this is where they're having a revelation about how people manipulate them to get what they want. And they're like, okay, well, I used the reference the other day that players need to be careful because players can get played. And so here we actually see the person that was playing them, and the reason why they were doing that is because it goes both ways. Okay, so now they're kind of tapping out of that. They're like, right, okay, I've noticed a pattern. I've noticed where maybe I've played myself, maybe other people have played me. And now I realize I'm actually not trapped. I could be part of the cycle. I could invest in the cycle like the poker face, but I'm really not trapped now. I do have an exit stage. I do have an ability to get out, and I do realize where these games have been played, and I no longer want to be part of that cycle. Now, of course, there will be a consequence to that. However, they're having faith that in believing in things that are authentic to them and to rise above it, it does mean they're going to have to throw caution to the wind and actually stand by the axis of what their belief system is. And this is an individual who is rising like the phoenix. They're coming down to a foundation and they're saying to themselves, well, if other people can rise above this circumstance and they've made it at a dodge, why then can't I? Why can't I move beyond the veil of this? And I do think they're actually looking at the divine feminine as an example, even though you particularly as a divine feminine, if you're cross-watching, you're probably saying to yourself, hey, life has not been easy. Moving beyond these circumstances has by far been easy, but really having to rise out of it. I'm getting this image of a genie in a bottle and rubbing it to actually get something out of it, like sort of like a wish and a dream come true. But this is just not about instant gratification. This is the bigger picture energy. And they also feel that by not doing this, they're really not respecting the context of who they are as a person. It's taking a bit of time. They do need a bit of patience, but we're going to get into the clarification. We're going to move through and we're going to go row by row and gain clarification because the guides are wanting us to go deeper. Okay, so who is this manipulator and where is this coming up? And like I said, I do think it's a two-sided coin here. And I do think whatever these obstacles are that they're directly addressing, they're realizing that they're going to have to liberate themselves. They're realizing people's patterns. And they do feel that, okay, well, if you want to be like that, we can play that game. But it does mean that they're in self-awareness and something is about to come to a head. They're also realizing in order to break that pattern, they're going to have to actually have the onus of where they actually had parts in it. This can link to groups and alliances. It also could be a karmic relationship cycle. But regardless, I think it's more the reference that they're noticing the pattern. And so that pattern is coming full circle. How do we look at the most recent past and what is the deeper reference of what we need to understand here, please? Okay, they're more in their empowerment now, so they do know that whatever they invest in now, it's going to be a very conscious choice. They're going to pause and they're going to be more determined to be assertive with this and to be aware of people's patterns and habits, especially where it comes to karmic cycles. They're not really interested in tapping back into something like that. They're realizing that this has actually caused them to receive far less in life and they're quite fed up of that. Definitely where it does come to any third-party interference situations and people's belief systems of them, they're not tolerating that any longer, and it can mean that they're actually washing their hands of people, places, and things that are requiring that. And they're very committed to the path of the connection, both with the divine feminine and towards where they're wanting to go. So any manipulators, they're really aware of these individuals, and especially of their patterns and habits where it comes to attempting to entrap them and play them and play games. They have really lost faith in these individuals and they feel they've lost their way. But they also, they're disappointed, let's say that in a way. It's not holding them back. It's actually shining light on this, and it's almost like they're having a revelation, like they got the spiky senses up and they're kind of looking at it like, hey, this is for them to learn. I'm washing my hands clean of this situation. I'm walking away because this no longer resonates with me, and that's just something karmically they feel those individuals are going to have to address. They're no longer pinning faith on individuals that, how do I explain it? They know that you have to stand for something, okay? They know that I'm pausing again, and it feels as though whatever this is holds some weight, and they want this reference and this message to come through to the divine feminine in a very apologetic way. They know very well that faith alone is not enough to make a relationship. That trust and that of the likes, plus learning karmic lessons, is actually required in order for faith to be restored within the connection. So they're actually rising to the challenge and they're realizing, okay, it's not that there's not love. It's not that I have to, pay you or manipulate you. It's that I have to show up that, in fact, I have learned these things and I am wiser and I am more mature and I am ready to address this head on. They also feel that they do need to have empathy for what you've gone through, because they also have gone through this in a different way. And because of that, it does feel as though they're ready to have a more committed relationship in a very mature sense. And that is actually a positive thing. Yeah, they're actually saying actions are larger than words. For some of them, it is stepping outside the vessel of how they have been previously. You may be wondering like what their big plan is. There could be a home, a family, or a house related subject where there's a question mark about it. They're also addressing that, and they are attempting to find a solution. And you could have some communication. They almost also could be waiting for some communication about this. And I do think as they're moving through that, they're kind of getting their ducks in a row. And they want this to feel safe for you. They want you to be able to feel as though they have addressed these circumstances. I do think there is an alliance here, and this individual might be helping them. They also might be attempting to surprise you in some shape or form, and they're definitely very serious about the future where it comes to love, but also really wanting to show some pride in their choices, and that how they see you, how they show up. I just keep getting the context of a surprise. They're wanting to surprise you in some way, and they're not wanting me to break that energy. It could just merely be a confirmation that you're going to have a surprise surrounding an attitude or an action that they're taking in resolving something that has been a bit of a bugbear and a conflict, and a way that life has been blocking you. But this surprise, whatever it is, it does feel it's taking some of the burden off your shoulder. It's taking some of the challenges, and they're being removed in order to aid the joint connection. Now, if you do want a personal booking, you can go to the link below. We also do have these out 4 times a month, masculine, feminine, and karmic. They're out now. You can find them via the community page, or if you want them pre-released, you can join our Sage in a Circle network. The landing page and the links are directly below, as well as if you do need a booking and you want a private one, like I mentioned, the links are below, and we will see you next week for the next edition. Take care.